Around the Ozarks is now on your FM radio. Listen to Around the Ozarks mornings with Grace Gooley as I spotlight local people, stories, and podcasts, all while playing the country legends of the 90s and the hit makers of the 2000s. It's on the Ozarks' best country, 105.1 The Bull. It's time for Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, brought to you by Colton's Steakhouse, Thompson Sales, and Deadeye Gun and Pawn in Sparta. Here's your host, Scott Purrier.
Welcome in to another edition of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. I am Scott Purrier. As always, a big thank you to you for tuning in this week as we talk sports in the Ozarks and beyond. And if it's summertime, it's a great time to catch up with our friend and the Vice President and Director of Athletics over at Drury University, Nyla Milleson, to find out what's going on in the Panthers world, Lady Panthers world. Nyla, good afternoon.
Thanks, Scott. Glad to be here with you. And I get to see your picture on the billboard as I was watching that little introduction. I get to see your picture on the billboard every morning as I come to work. So, start my day with Scott Purrier.
Yeah. Do you just kind of wave or do you?
I do. I just smile and wave. Yeah.
I need to get like a protruding hand on that just perpetually waves at people as they go by there. But no, always a pleasure to catch up with you. And of course, we go back to my early days at Drury. You were there earlier than me, and then it left and came back and doing a great job as the Director of Athletics. I think the highlight when we talk about what did Drury do this year, you win the Commissioner's Cup, the All-Sports GLVC Award, third time in the athletic program's history, first time since 2022. And that is an award based on competition in all the core sports, the 8 that all the 15 league members participate in. And you got to be pretty proud of that one. Very
proud. One of, my opinion, probably the harder one to win than the one that equates into many, many sports because you're left out of say football. We don't have football. So a culmination of lots of people's efforts, certainly our student athletes, but our coaches, our trainers, our admin that put, lots of hours in and a nice award to win at the end of the year.
And, the thing that I noticed, because it kind of caught me by surprise, because it's not a top heavy award. It's not you win these 2 sports and you just get in the others. You guys were just right there in good standing in all sports across the board. And as an AD, that's kind of nice, isn't it?
Well, I'm not going to lie. It caught me a little bit by surprise, too. A couple of days before it was announced, I was working on some board report stuff and some things for the president and the board of trustees. And I thought, well, I'll just go on and kind of see where we're going to land in some of this stuff, not really even knowing when they were going to release it. And I thought we had a really, really good year. But like you said, women's soccer obviously won the conference, but, not in those 8 sports, I think that's the only one we won. So I'm thinking, we'll be second or third, maybe. And I looked and I went, whoa, I took a quick snapshot to make sure that they couldn't make any changes or anything. So just really excited. But I think you also hit it on the head. We were just pretty good in everything. Just really didn't have a sport that was just bad. That happens sometimes. So very proud of our student athletes and our coaches for sure.
Of course, I mentioned that all 15 schools participate. News breaking today, matter of fact, that'll be down one starting in 27-28 because Indianapolis announced today they're going to the Great Midwest Conference. Is this something you and the other ADs have kind of known for a little while and no surprise? Because I'm sure it probably caught a lot of the league fans, other sports, etc., a little bit taken aback.
There's been some conversation over the last, couple of months that this was an option, that they were exploring some options to maybe do something different. And, as the entire NCAA landscape, Division I, Division II, you name it, is constantly in flux and changing. Everybody's got to make the decisions that's best for their institution. So we knew there was an option. We didn't know until this morning that it was a definite done deal, but doesn't really surprise me. And again, got to make the decisions that are best for you. And they've been a great member of the GLVC, and while I'm not sure we're going to miss the long bus rides that it was to Indianapolis, we'll certainly miss the competition and the camaraderie and those sort of things that you develop with schools and with coaches.
Who's the furthest most east school now in the GLVC?
Oh gosh,
does it stop in Illinois now?
Probably, but our furthest will be Upper Iowa.
Yeah.
But east, Scott, you're asking me a geography question.
Yeah, I know. I just started thinking because I remember, in our time together there, bus trips to Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky, and St. Joe and beautiful scenic Rensselaer, Indiana, and, the Evansville swing, the Louisville stop with Bellarmine. Those are all gone now. I mean, it may be one of the Illinois schools, right?
And the difference is I don't have to get on a bus anymore.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So
I do watch the buses and the vans load up and say a quick prayer for everybody to get back safe. But we'll have to look at that. But that's certainly there were some really long road swings because Indy was usually paired. I think different sports are different, but paired with Lewis or paired with a distant school, so it made for really long weekends. And you may not even know this unless you paid attention to our schedule that came out in our women's basketball. But the GLVC is actually going to Wednesday, Saturday games this year, so there won't be the 2 game swings like we've done for. Gosh, Ed was saying. And maybe since we've been in the conference, that we've had two swings on Thursdays and Saturdays. So it'll be interesting to see how actually soccer's going Wednesday, Saturday as well. So going to be interesting to kind of see. It was all started as a cost savings. And I think there's, a little bit of, whether it's going to, and again, different schools are going to be different cost savings. St. Louis being in the heart of everything, are so much different than us and Rolla and SBU and obviously the Kansas City schools. But I think this is going to have my coach's hat on. I think it's going to be very much a positive for the student athlete experience, preparation, those sort of things, to have those 2 days of preparation. And most of the games, I haven't studied just every single one of them, but most of the Wednesday games will be shorter proximity, so you can a lot of them get there on the day and come back, and then your Saturday games will be your Upper Iowas and your more distance. So that'll be interesting to see kind of how that goes.
Yeah, because I my first thought was, how is it cost saving? And I'm thinking in the realm of the old ways, where it was Indy and St. Joe, or it was Bellarmine and Northern Kentucky, where you're adding an extra night of hotel, but you say they're going to logistically make it where most of the time you may be able to come back from the Wednesday night game. That'll work.
You play SBU on a Wednesday and you maybe go to Upper Iowa on a Saturday, obviously go on a Friday, but in our Kansas City trips, we can go, we can go up and back on those. So, won't have to stay. So it'll be interesting. And again, each school is going to be a little bit different, but I was very much in favor of it, as I think our coaches, obviously were too. So that's going to be a change for our conference, but I think it's going to be a good change.
We've talked about this a little bit on the radio with you at times, and just such a different climate now with NIL, with transfer portal, and all the things that have kind of gotten out of control. And a lot of ADs, a lot of coaches, especially coaches that have been in a while, are kind of saying to heck with this and getting out. And, the AD at Drury, she re-ups for another 4 years. I mean, do we need to check for concussion syndromes? Do I need to get Rosie, Aaron Kinnaman to come in and issue a test to you? What are you thinking there? But, I mean, it's a different world. And have you kind of embraced it? And you're always one that it's about the challenges and overcoming those. Is this another thing that you're sitting there as Nyla Milleson saying, we can do this and I'm going to do it?
I think all of the above. I'll be honest, and the amount of conversations that I have about this really on a daily basis, I don't know that I could do the coaching anymore with some of the things that our coaches are challenged with. I mean, I could if that's what it was, but I think I made the right decision when I got out. I think I'm at the right place. We're working on, some different projects now that I very much am serving in my AD role, but very much understand having been in my coach's role. I just told a couple of them yesterday. I said, you better be thankful that I did this for about 40 years in your shoes, because I do get it. Do I have to keep the university at the forefront? 100%. Do I have to keep my AD hat on 99% of the time? Yes. But I also understand many of the decisions that we make. Can we maybe find a way to compromise a little bit that still allows us to provide the best student athlete experience, to provide the competitive advantage that we want to be as Drury Athletics, a premier program for so many years. So I'm excited. Are there days I'm absolutely ready to retire, Scott? I am. But then I still feel like I've got some things to give, and I'm at the right place. And Dr. Frederick is just phenomenal leader and president of our university to be able to work for. I love the GLVC. So I feel like I still have some time and some energy and effort left to give. It's kind of like the coaching. And, I told Brent for so many years, when I can't do the daily grind and I can't give to our student athletes and to our staff the way that I need to, it's time to get out. I reached that point that the daily grind just became more than what I wanted. Obviously, some other variables with aging parents and those sort of things too. But I'm kind of in the same place now, that as long as I can continue to do it to the best of my ability and I can still make an impact, that's what I'll do.
Well, you've got a good one in Jeff Frederick over there, president. I mean,
absolutely.
It's been a while since they've had one that understood the value of athletics to a university. And, Edsel used to always say, Dr. Edsel Matthews, of course, we both admired him so much and he meant so much to our careers, but he always used to say that athletics was the front porch to your university. And Jeff Frederick gets that, and that's got to be a relief for you, and probably a big reason why you're saying, I'll stay here another 4, because I got a guy that understands that.
You are right on with that. Dr. Frederick gets what we do. He appreciates what we do. He understands where it fits. And, we're not the number one priority of the university. They're here for academics and to make sure that we're educating students. But the role that athletics plays fits right into what that philosophy is. So just very blessed. And one of the questions that I ask is, as we were kind of renegotiating the contract, is, I'm not doing this without you. So I feel pretty confident that, that he'll be here, and hopefully I can continue to make an impact and go 4 more years, and then right off into the sunset and lay on the beach or do something. I don't know.
There you go. Go rope barrels or jump cabs or whatever.
Yeah. I'm gonna hang out in my house down in Branson.
That'd be a good place. Mutual friend of ours, a good friend of mine during my time at Drury, Jay Havens, was coming through town about a week and a half ago for youth baseball, and they stopped and we had dinner with him, and we were talking about, he's at Northeastern State in the MIAA and talking about NIL and portal and all this. And, another MIAA member has, pretty much a large bank account for NIL. He can't compete with that. He's got to figure out ways to keep kids in other ways. And is that seeping down into D2 now more and more from what your coaches tell you? And they're having to battle, schools that can give a kid $30,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 to come play for them at D2?
It is. It's starting to creep, and we're doing some homework and some research to see how, we're not Division I. We don't want to be Division One. We'll never probably be at the place that we even want to pay a kid $30,000. But you also have to continue to find ways to stay relevant. I mentioned a little bit ago about the history and the legacy of Drury Athletics, and you certainly don't want that to slip away for all the Bruce Hargers and the Dr. Edsel Matthews and all of the people. You can go right down the line with the coaches that have been here. You don't want that legacy and history to step away, but you have to stay in perspective and with what we're all about. So we're doing some homework and some research to figure out if there's some things within the NIL scope that we can do and afford. And, I think more than anything is to try to keep those difference maker kids here. We can't compete. Somebody comes in and says, we're going to give you $50,000. Best of luck to you and go do what you need to do. But if we can help pay, some rent or expenses or something and still provide a great student athlete experience, there's no doubt we've got to continue to try to keep up in the best way possible.
Can you imagine if they had NIL in the portal back when you had Hope Hunt and Jill Curry and Amanda Newton and
Kara Rutledge, you can go right down the line.
Yeah,
it would have been. Now
Molly would have had.
I say it wouldn't have been good, but I can tell you, I will use Sarah Mendel and Kaylee King, and on the women's basketball side right now. I think men's basketball is a different beast. Than the women's side is, because I know the couple of guys that we lost are two that we had. There's no question. Good luck to you. You have done great for Drury, but you've got to go. But as Sarah Mendel, you've just got to continue at our level to try to provide the best. And I've said this several times in the 10 minutes we've had conversation. Provide the best student athlete experience that you can provide, our fans, our facilities, those sort of things. You just got to try to continue to stay in the race there. And then if you can find other ways, with the NIL money, but you also got to give reasons for kids to stay.
Sure.
And I know there's, the men's basketball is a perfect example. You can't compete. You can't compete with that.
Yeah.
But I think in the majority of our other sports, we probably can. Baseball may be trending a little bit the same way as men's basketball. That I think the money there is pretty good. But on the female side, we've just got to stay good. We've got to keep our facilities. We've got to keep our fans. We've got to do those things that Drury's all about.
And I will say this, and I've said it before, girls just naturally are a little more smart and level-headed than guys when it comes to that stuff.
Well, thank you, Scott.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember talking to Cayman Beckemeyer a couple months ago, and she said, you know what, if people are texting me or calling me, wanting me to go on the portal, they're wasting their time. I'm a lady bear,
Yeah. She's a perfect example. She's home, family, mom and dad, fans, people get to support and stay at home and be a lady bear and do what you do.
Now Molly would have gone out and found 150 kids to give lessons to for her NIL, wouldn't she? Or she
would have done something crazy.
She'd have worked the system. So I want to get some other topics. And we're talking Lady Panthers, Casey Bailey, a 4-year extension. Your thoughts on that? Just obviously appreciate the job she's doing and see bright things ahead.
Yeah, Casey's done a phenomenal job. And, I've said this a couple of times. We could put some things on repeat. Things aren't the same as they were, 5, 6, 8, 10, 25 years ago. So I think in the changing landscape of NCAA athletics. She's done a great job and continues to recruit quality kids, and does so much out in the community, and a relationship builder. So very excited. And you probably saw that the dates coincided. She said, you got to stay as long as I'm going to stay. And I said, well, we'll put it both at 30, and then we'll see where we're at.
Exactly. Reevaluate then. I think another exciting story for Drury is the announcement that you've got a new home for Drury soccer, and Cooper Sports Complex. The city has done an amazing job of really turning that into, it was already first class, and I don't know what's above first class, but they're there. But then the news that the GLVC likes it so much, they're going to bring the soccer championships to Springfield, I believe, for 3 years. Is that right, the deal there? Kind of talk about the evolution of moving from Harrison Stadium out to Cooper, how that came about.
Well, we're super excited to be partnering with Lake Country and going out there for our home games this fall. There's some negotiations with SPS. I know there's been some public announcements that SPS has done that they're going to invest and remodel. I'm not sure exactly all of their plans. That's not for me to be privy to at this information or at this time. So not sure exactly what they're doing at Harrison. And it sounds like possibly not going to start until after football season, but we had to make some decisions on announcing where we were going to play, practice, all of those sort of things, really prior to what Springfield SPS was ready to do. So we possibly could have stayed over there for the fall, but it was just in our best interest to go ahead and have things planned, and we knew where we were going to go and those sort of things. So at least for the immediate future of the fall, Lake Country will be our home, and then we'll reevaluate kind of where the construction and that sort of thing with SPS is going to move after the fall. And then it just so happened that the GLVC was looking for a new home for their soccer tournament, for their GLVC soccer tournament. And, thanks to Lance and the Sports Commission, they put a bid in. And when they first put it in, I thought it was just for a year, but it turned out to be a 3-year. And just so happens that it's going to be our home field this year. But I think the GLVC is very, very excited about the opportunity to move it here. We went out with Alf just this last week and looked through some things, and our soccer was out there, I think, once this year, but it wasn't a game that I was able to be to. And even since I've been out there, have continued to make improvements. And I haven't been to the GLV soccer in St. Louis the last couple of years. But according to our coaches and our media relations and stuff, it's even a better venue than what they've been playing in terms of press box and some of the amenities there. So just super excited for that. Also, the very same weekend this year, we'll be hosting the GLVC cross country meet on that Saturday morning out at Allison Sportstown. So we've been working with Chris, and they're developing with Evangela, Missouri State and Drury, developing a cross country course out at Bobby Allison. So, we're blessed, Scott. I don't know that we have the best facilities, across the board of any place. But we certainly have very, very good ones, and we're lucky we live in a town that supports sports and supports the endeavors of the university and of youth sports and everything else.
Had a couple new hires. Wanted to mention you brought in Kelly Richardson for volleyball. She's had I assume a good jump on getting things ready for this fall.
Yes, we're super excited about Kelly. I think she hit the ground running. Obviously, local talent. Runs the 417 volleyball club, so very, very, very connected. Has just been a great addition to our volleyball. And then you might have seen Susanna Blackwell We hired her as our women's golf. She's a local Glendale gal. Played at Evangel for our former coach over there, Faith Hopkins. Just a ball of energy. Super excited about both of those young coaches. We hired Bryce Walker from UNC Pembroke for our wrestling program, and another. I use young, and it all becomes relative, as you well know. But just some really young, energetic, new ideas. Very student athlete centered coaches that I think are going to be, not only great for their programs, but are going to be great for our department.
And then there's the Yoda of college swimming, Brian Reynolds, and on the other end of the spectrum.
In the category with us, we've been around for a long time.
Exactly. Just keeps doing what he does, and that's turn out good programs, and second and fifth at nationals this year. Just keeps doing his thing, doesn't he?
He does. He's just as Brian, and continues to recruit at a high level, and may not be a better tactician, in the country at any level than he is. And he's got two really good young assistants right now that I think keep track of him and make sure that he's where he's supposed to be and all of those other things. But he's deserving to be able to do the coaching part, and his young assistants do the paperwork and do those sort of things, and he's Drury legacy for sure.
He's Brian Reynolds. Yeah,
absolutely.
The non-NCAA sports have Drury just really jumped in full throttle with those and added so many. Are they still at full speed ahead for the most part? Kind of talk about that side of things, and giving kids opportunities to fish or play pickleball or things like that other schools maybe don't offer.
They are. They're doing well. Roster size on a couple of them. We got to continue to grow. But I think they've served exactly what they're meant to be, to compete, to fulfill roster sizes, but still allow those student athletes, if they choose, to be a part of the rest of the campus, whether it be Greek life or SGA or whatever it is, because their time commitment's a little bit less than an NCAA sport. But a lot of success. Our shotgun team, Coach Boyer does such a great job, and they were national champions this year. And what can you say about Rick Emmett? Just Mr. Fisherman. I got to go to my first bass fishing tournament this spring, and wow, it not only was it cool, but to see the gratefulness and the gratitude of those student athletes as they were weighing their fish in, and it's just a different world. They came through, and as they weighed their fish and they were saying how many pounds they had, then one of the team members would step up and thank somebody or say a little something about their gratefulness, and it was just neat. It was a different experience than I'd ever had. Ice hockey continues to do very, very well. So yeah, just an addition of some sports and student athletes that we wouldn't otherwise have, and some real quality people. Again, adding to our department.
Is this just completed year 4 for you, or 3?
Year 4.
Year 4, yeah. And when you took the job, you'd had 1 year or 2 at Hollister. One. I've been back Hollister, 5 years, and a whole different boat. This Drury and college athletics thing than Hollister, and especially the things you stepped into at the time and everything, and just. My chance to brag on you and say congratulations on embracing it and not curling up in a ball and crying most days and stuff.
It goes on behind closed doors sometimes. But
exactly.
No.
But I mean, how much more comfortable are you now having got through some of the storms early on and the learning curve? And, and I think a big change was Jeff Frederick showing up, and, just the attitude toward athletics and all that. To kind of talk about your growth in this role, and obviously we talked about signing on for another 4. People don't do that unless they really enjoy what they're doing.
It's been a journey without any doubt. I will forever be grateful to Hollister. I'm going to start there for that year that Dr. Wilson and Jared Terry and Sean Woods gave me at Hollister, because that, while it was the right decision to step away from coaching, I was ready. It wasn't an easy decision. And I really think had I jumped right from coaching to this role, I don't know that physically, mentally, just some of the other intangible things, maybe, I don't know that I would have handled it quite as well as I did. Because Hollister, I mean, it was work, and I put my time and my effort and my heart and my soul in it. But it's a different level of I don't know what word I'm even looking for. I don't know what.
It's a leap. It's a leap up, and
I got to get my feet back in underneath me from 36 years of really hard coaching and 24/7 on the go, and the travel and all of that. And I got to relax a little bit. I got to enjoy and mentor the Pete Leonards and Mike Johnsons and people like that, and young student athletes. So I loved my year at Hollister. But this was too good to turn down. And I remember the day walking into Dr. Wilson's office, I was scared to death. I don't know if you know Brian Wilson. And not that I was scared of him, but I was scared to disappoint him that I was leaving. Because he just, the opportunity he gave me. But I remember walking in there and in tears and this is what's coming home. I mean, this was coming home to me, to Drury, and the opportunity at that time that, Dr. Cloyd and Beth Harville was big in my hiring and those sort of things. So I obviously knew what I was getting into from a coach's perspective. And I've said this many a time, my biggest transition was taking that coach's hat off.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you who helped me do that was Barb Coward. That was one of the deals that when I made this, that I said, I first talked to her and she said, "Are you crazy?" And so I said, "But will you come back with me?" And when she said yes, I said, "Are you crazier?" But that was one of my deals, is that, I needed Barb to come back and yes, it was for Drury, but I was being selfish at that time because I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to be successful, for Drury to be successful. And I knew in order to do that, I needed Barb's help. It was going to be a year deal. 4 years later, here she is. So when she watches this, we're both still crazy. So, and it was in a difficult time. Lots of uncertainty, maybe would be a best word to use it. And then there was change. And then, John Berline stepped in for a year and thankful for his leadership. But I think I think everything really, really stabilized when they, in my opinion, made the right hire with Jeff Frederick through all 4 years. Dr. Cloyd, John Berline, Jeff Frederick, they've all let me run this department. But I think the stabilization is what's made the biggest difference, because they're just, there was a few more roller coaster days than there are now. And not that we're totally shut the roller coaster off, but, maybe a few less bumps and bruises. But, I talk a lot about the impact that a person can make. And I think I made it as a coach. And, now I'm just doing it in a different way, indirectly impacting student athletes. But, hopefully my biggest impact and role is helping coaches, and I've walked in their shoes. I think they understand when I say no, it's not that I don't want to, or it's not that I don't think you need it. But we just can't do it now. And we've had to make some really, really, really tough decisions over the last 2 or 3 years. But I think they understand that I've made it out of necessity and made it out of decisions that is best for our university. And I've done it with a big heart, even as hard as some of those decisions. That's kind of how I've lived my life, Scott. I think you know me well enough. That's how I coached. It's been great. Has it been easier the last year or so? Yes. Is it easy? No. But what profession is? I mean, there's always your challenges. But I'm lucky. I've been so blessed, and we all, whether it's our personal life or professional, we wish we had more money, we wish we had more time, we wish we had better players, whatever it is. But I've also been one that my glass is always half full, and you find the way to do the best you can with what you have.
And I was going to say, as far as Barb, we all have Siri on our phones, and now we're in an AI world with Claude. You had to ask Barb, didn't you? And
oh my gosh,
just walk down the hall and say, hey, what should we do here? How do we do this? Because she's seen it all, and
her institutional knowledge, first of all, I mean, there's so many things and so much turnover in so many other departments, so if a lot of things on campus, we go, well, what's the history of this? And just a minute, I'll go ask Barb. But then just her, and she was my sports supervisor when I was here, so our relationship, first of all, is very good, but the level of trust, there isn't anything that she doesn't know how to do or isn't going to figure out how to do. Really just like a good assistant coach. I mean, 100%. That's why Trish was with me for 20 years. You need them to be able to do what they do so you can do what you do. Yeah. And, she used to tease, well, we tease a lot, that, when I first came to Drury, she'd say, you've got to learn to delegate. You've got to be able to give your assistants roles and jobs, and, you can't do it all. There's certain things that you have to do, but then you've got to figure out what it is that your assistants need to do and take off of your plate. She teases me a lot, or I tease her, whichever way you want to look at it is. She taught me very well 25 years ago, because I delegate really well right now.
She would like to take back those words now.
She would like to take that back a little bit. But, and obviously Barb and I's friendship and all of that goes a long back, and I'm so grateful. But we have a great admin staff right now. I've been working on evaluations and stuff. And you mentioned Erin Kinnaman, Rosie, as you refer to her. As our head trainer, she's been here 25 plus years. We've added some admin responsibility and title to her. Karen Henson, our compliance, Ed Beach, we've transitioned him to external, Eric Denning in our media relations. We just have a really, really, really good staff. And as you well know, in, the different things that you've done throughout your life, you're only as good as the people you put around you. And, you have a weak link and they can drag the whole, and we just don't right now. We've got great GAs. We added an assistant media relations in Hudson Harkness. And so just a great admin staff that, again, we work well together. We help each other. But most importantly, they do what they need to do to allow me to do what I need to do.
Well, before we wrap this up, I wanted to give one more shout out because we were talking about some of the highlights of the year, and we've known this for years. You got a great one over there in Bobby Hearn. He wins some national awards this year for his video work, top honors in the country for his swimming and diving hype video. Also finalists in women's basketball, women's soccer videos. He's kind of one of a kind, isn't he? Especially at this level.
Absolutely. We just were talking about him this afternoon with somebody. my opinion, there's none better in the country. And how we've been able to keep him, I have no idea. He's got a secret that he's not sharing someplace, so why he's sticking around, because he's just phenomenal in the work he does, and take so many of the things that we do to the next level, just because they don't have that. But yeah, I'm a big Bobby Hearn fan, and one of the many that I'm hoping we can keep around for a while. And I read your posts a lot, and the influence he's had on your son, is big, and I'm sure he's probably not the only one.
Very good. Well, Nyla, I always enjoy catching up with you. Looking forward to a big year for Drury in 26, 27, as you are, I'm sure, as well, with everything in place. And enjoy the rest of your summer, or the day or two you'll get to take off here before it all fires up again. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate you, Scott, as always.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. You bet. Nyla Milleson, the Director of Athletics, Vice President for Athletics at Drury University, one of the good ones. She does it the right way, and we all did look at her like she was kind of a little bit crazy when she took that job after all those years of coaching and the situation she walked into. It Drury wasn't great at the time, but has come out on the other side just like you would expect Nyla Milleson to do, and come out a winner there as well. So big thank you to our podcast sponsors, Thompson Sales, located 1555 East Independence in South Springfield. They've been in business since 1919. Thompson's is your home for the largest selection of Cadillacs, Buicks, and GMC cars and trucks. They've got new and used, and they got a great service department as well as a tremendous body shop to take care of your vehicles from start to finish until it's time to trade it in and get a new one there at Thompson Sales. Thompson boys have been dealing since 1919. Also, thanks to Colton's Steakhouse of Springfield, located just down the street from Thompson's at 2020 East Independence. We always say go buy a car and then go celebrate at Colton's with a great lunch or dinner. You'll find the best barbecue. The steaks are awesome. Their burgers, the fresh peanuts, the hot rolls they serve you before you get started, all at Colton's Steakhouse. Go see owner Thomas Orr and his great staff at Colton's. Tell them we said hi, and we appreciate their sponsorship. And then finally, Deadeye Gun in Sparta, located 7483 Main Street in Sparta. They're on the main drag. Or you can visit the website deadeyegunsupply.com. Check out their selection of pistols, rifles, ammunition, all the accessories you need for that target practice or the next hunt you have coming up. It's all there at Deadeye Gun in Sparta. Big thanks to Jonathan and his team at Deadeye for their sponsorship as well. That's going to do it for this week's edition. Again, thanks to Nyla for her time. Always appreciate a chance to catch up with her and do our State of the Union address on Drury Athletics. Until then, we'll see you next week here on Around the Ozarks Sports Scene.